I've always like I thought Thai tea was black tea, but then I'm realizing that Thai tea is not exactly black tea, but it is like they say it's black tea. That's why I'm so confused. I love Thai tea, or at least like the sweet Thai tea that you get in Thailand.
Hmm.
I'm a huge fan of that, but I pick tea over coffee too. Are you a I guess like because let's backtrack a bit. So I guess like what is the story of Erica? Because when I first met you, I just remember you were this American lawyer, and then she was like deuces to corporate law, and then you moved to the Caribbean, and you're just out here living your best life. Like I'm just like wait, I'm trying to be like you. Like so I'm curious like how like can you share like the story of Erica at least as it has been written thus far.
Oh my gosh, that would take a very long time. But I think that the best way to talk about the story of Erica would be two words: love and alignment. And I think that those two things explain absolutely everything about my story. So I think that one of the first things that I experienced as a child was being abused, sexually abused. And that set me up, I think, for really going inside. And in terms of my connection with the outside world, it was all about performance, all about,
Mm.
perfection, getting the best grades, showing up in the best way, and like finding somewhere where I could, I don't know, make myself feel better, take my
Mm.
mind off of, this terrible, no good, very bad thing that I had experienced as a child. And I think running alongside that was just this desire for attention and appreciation. And, I became obsessed with Perry Mason and Matlock, two shows that I still watch to this day every time I come back to America with my grandmother. And I decided at a pretty young age that I'm a high performer. I'm going to be super smart. That's going to be my claim to fame. And I'm going to be a lawyer. And so
Mm.
when I finished my undergraduate degree, I was a business major, and I had found my way sort of creeping into finance, creeping into Wall Street, and just by the grace of God, that, that did not work out because I have lots of friends who did go that way. Hey, y'all, no offense. By the grace of God, that didn't work out. And I actually ended up going to Taiwan to teach English. So I went to Taiwan. I
Mm.
ended up alignment. It was not an aligned decision for me to continue with that. I left that after a few months, went to Thailand, speaking of Thai tea, and hung out there for a few months. And then I came back to the States. It was just everything I needed. And I feel like that period of time just set me up to meet another part of myself. Right. I feel like traveling my entire life has always set me up to meet another part of myself, to explore the music I actually like, to explore like who I want to hang out with and who I want to be. When you come from a particular background, it's like, this is what I'm doing, this is what everybody else is doing, I'm fitting into this. And I feel like there were just a series of extraordinary, wonderful events that helped me to understand I'm an odd duck and to sort of embrace that. Anyway, slight side note. So I ended up in Thailand and just explored a whole different world, a whole different way to be. And that was sort of my foundation of going into this sort of corporate direction. So when I came back, I ended up, I'll kind of try to shorten the story, but I ended up working in marketing for law firms while I was studying for the LSATs. Took the LSATs, went to law school, did very well, continued my perfectionism, and then went on to clerk for a judge, a circuit court judge, um, and then to work for some large law firms in the States. And again, it came down to love and alignment, love in the like very purest sense. My love was in Amsterdam. I was in Washington D.C. and I ended up at a store one day, and this old man. I was on the phone talking to my cousin, and this old man. I was getting off. He was standing there like checking me out. And I said to my cousin, "I love you," and my cousin said, "I love you." And we got off the phone, and the old man looked at me. He said, "I love you." And I said, "Oh, I love you too." And he said, "I don't get to hear that very often." And I was like, "Well, why is that?" And he said, "Well, now I only have my sister. My wife passed away some years ago. Who were you just on the call?" No, he said, "Where is your love?" He didn't ask me who I was talking to, because I would have said my cousin. He
Mm.
said, "Where is your love?" And I said, "Oh, he's in Amsterdam." And he said, "Well, what are you doing here?" So this was at a point in my legal career where I was kind of like, the alignment was off. I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it well, but I wasn't living my optimal life. Like, you have a good life, but what's your optimal, like, what is the best use of you? And I could just
Mm.
feel being a lawyer is not the best use of me. And, was really struggling with being good at something and not being obsessed with it. And so when he said, "Where's your love?" And I said, "Amsterdam," he looked at me, he said, "You young people think you live forever. You think you're gonna live forever." And girl, I like the tears welled up in my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, like I do, like we do live like this. I think I
Yeah.
was probably 29, 30, and you're like, oh, I'll get to it. And I walked out of that store. I called my now husband and I said, and he said, "We think we're gonna live forever." And he's like, "Pull your life together." But he said, what he said, "Quit." He said, "Quit. You don't love it." And I said, "Boo, I'm gonna think about it." Because usually I would be like, "Don't be ridiculous." Like,
I know, because there's the part of you that's like comfort. You're like, bro, what? Excuse me, everything we just worked up for, like, why are we throwing that all away? Like, excuse me.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it wasn't the first time he told me to quit, but the very first time he told me to quit, I lost my mind. I was like, "Well, let's move out of this $1 million apartment. And we just bought a fridge.
Yeah.
Let's move into that box." Like, what are you talking? Shut up. That's ridiculous. But this time, years later, when he said, "Well, quit," I said, "I'm going to start that process." And I did. I did. I feel like that was at the end of one year. And I think a few months into the next year, I was throwing in the towel, putting in my resignation. And that's that's an interesting story, because I went to my absolute favorite partner at that firm to talk about leaving. And she was like, "What's going on?" And I was just like, "We're all dying." It's like, I said, "We are all dying." Okay. And this is
And
not,
I'm wasting my time here. Like,
I was like, "This is not the life I want to live. If it's true that we're all dying, then this ain't it for me." Right. And I mean, I respect the fact that it was it for her, and it for so many of my lawyer friends, it for my lawyer husband, but it wasn't for me. And so what's funny is this is like going to be, aired in public, but another partner was at the partner meeting where they announced, like, she's going to leave. And the partners were like, "Okay, well, what can we do? What can we do to keep her? Is there, maybe we can set her up in Amsterdam. She wants to go there. Her love is there. Let's set her up as a lawyer in Amsterdam." And the partner I quit to said, "Oh no, she said she's dying." We all are. And so I don't think that she wants to do that. And so the partner,
she's in a different
she's
place.
just, she has
Like,
gone. She's all the way over there
yeah.
now. And so the partner who came back and told me that was like, "Erica, did you really say that?" I said, "Girl, yes, I did." Praise the Lord. I meant it. And it's true. It is objectively
It is though. It is so true.
right. You
It
can't
is.
dispute that. Like, especially as lawyers, we want to look, we want to find the hole, find the lie. We are all like actively walking towards the grave. Like,
It's the one thing where everybody doesn't want to admit is true, but like when you say it, you're like, it's like, why'd you bring that up, Erica? Obviously, we know that.
yeah,
Like, why would you ruin the party? Like,
but it's
obviously, we
not.
knew that was
But
coming.
it's not ruining
It
the
isn't. It
party.
isn't.
It's waking you up. It's waking you up. It's saying, listen, you got this one life. It goes by so freaking quickly.
Quickly.
What you gonna
What are you gonna
do?
do with it? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's so funny because it's like I feel like I always had this fear around death until I realized, like, yeah, what it really is doing is helping you focus and realizing, like, yeah, like you, like every day counts. Like, if you're just letting it go by, like, you gotta recognize it counts because you're never gonna get it back. Not in a bad way, but more of like, what really is something that you really want to do with this time.
that's it. Choose. Choose and choose consciously. Death can be, in one of my favorite books, Separate Reality by Carlos Castaneda. He said, death should be a trusted advisor. And I am like, absolutely. It should guide your choices. It could guide your choices. I choose to live it that way.
Yeah. And I guess, like, so then what did you transition to after you were like, okay, we're done with corporate. We go to our love. And
Hmm.
like now I like because I know like you help guide kind of folks, so I guess like I'm curious like how that part of like finding what it was that helped you fulfill your purpose, but also like kind of helped you move towards like that best life that you felt like you were more aligned with.
Oh, it was a hot mess. It was just a lot of stumbling and feeling around. No. So when I was still practicing law, towards the end of it, I took a course on becoming a life coach. So it was like a 1 year course, and you were, sort of coaching the whole year. And I was starting to notice that as a lawyer, like the way my office was set up, and I worked for two law firms in my sort of post law school career. I always had my light off. I always had like soft music playing, and it started to become noticeable that my office was sort of everyone's um, reset office. So people would just come in and they would plop down in a chair, sometimes say absolutely nothing to me, and just sit there and breathe and be, and get up and go back and do whatever it is they were doing. And so once I started this coaching thing, like here and there, I would like have a little chat, I'm doing this coaching thing, if you're interested. Um, and so I had an idea that the coaching thing would be something I wanted to do when I left. But the truth is, I don't think my confidence was there to really walk out of the door and hop into that. So that's one. Two, the thought of going back, because like of course I came from this corporate background, so I was like, I'll just go back into corporate and coach there. And that was over a decade ago. And coaching and all of this self-reflection work was kind of like, oh, whatever, this is ridiculous, this arty farty woo woo BS, like, everybody was so dismissive of it. Right.
Yeah, I feel.
And so I was like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, I don't, my confidence isn't there. I really don't feel like going back into corporate and trying to prove that this is helpful. And the idea of keeping on this like wearing a suit thing and like, looking professional, like being in a boardroom, that also felt like terrible to me. And so while I was saying that's what I was going to do, so much, again, love and alignment, right? I didn't love the idea of doing it, and it just felt not aligned in my body. But what was aligned was yoga. And so I quit. I moved to Amsterdam. I was on my then boyfriend's couch. Like, I would wake up, leave the bed, go to the couch, okay, and just lay there. I watched True Blood. I watched The Sopranos. Like, and both of those were like multiple seasons. And that's what I did for a solid 3 months. My boyfriend was like, um, like, don't you want to? Because I did a semester of law school in Amsterdam. He's like, don't you want to like reach out to some of your friends or do something other than no, no, sir, I don't.
No socializing for this one. She's gonna sit right here.
That's all I have.
Contemplate, contemplate. Yeah.
I'm contemplating, but it was a cocoon stage, right? I was just
Yeah, exactly.
in the mess and the gook of it, and probably 3 or so months into it, I was like, yoga. I've always loved yoga. It's always been this thing like meditation that has like supported me and gotten me through all of the anxiety and depression I've experienced in my life. And so I started searching for a yoga teacher training in India, and one popped up. It was deeply aligned, and I stalked those people until they let me in because the course was full. They were like, you need to calm down. It's like I haven't had enough yoga yet. So I'm after you. So anyway, I ended up going to that yoga teacher training. And when I came back, the alignment was to, surprisingly enough, open a yoga studio, which is completely insane. But that's what I did. Open a yoga studio here in Amsterdam. And it went really well. It was fantastic.
I love yoga, so the fact that you said yoga saved you, I feel like yoga is saving me. Like yoga is literally, I feel like everybody should do it. Like just do it. It's just what kind of yoga did you end up teaching, or did you do all forms, like every all of
I
them?
was in it. I literally did everything from more like static hatha yoga to vinyasa to sort of that power vinyasa to yin and restorative. Like when I got into it, I really really jumped into it. And also, it was me and a Pilates teacher running the studio, and it was like, if we want varied classes, then we got to be varied. Right? And so we were knee deep in it, and I offered everything until I started to hire teachers.
That is so awesome because currently I go like there's like a yoga studio literally like across the street from me, and so I do hot yoga more in the mornings, and like today I literally have a yin yoga practice that I'm going to go to later. And
Yes.
for me, like the reason I went back to yoga was because I've been like experiencing like pain like really through like the right side of my lower body is just super tight, like my legs are tight. I've always been tight in my hamstrings, and it was getting to a point where like I felt like there was something like legitly wrong with
Mhm.
my feet. Like I thought I remember one doctor thought like I had like a bone issue, so like my bones weren't fused together, and like that's why my feet were jacked. And I'm like, bro, like my parents have perfectly fine feet. Like what is going on? And I went to finally like this foot doctor, and he was like, yeah, bro, you just need to stretch. Like he was like literally like your alignment is off, and you need to just do pretty much like the pros that I'm pretty sure has been fixing me has been swan and cobra.
Yeah.
And just literally sitting in like cobra, like it was so bad, like my low back to like my right butt cheek, because it was so tender I couldn't even massage it because it would like hurt. Like it was wild, but it didn't occur to me that the problem was like in my back. Like I was like, no, it's my foot. I know it's my foot. My foot is killing me. Like it's the foot. Fix. I was like, universe, just chop it off. Like I don't know what to do anymore. And yeah, it was literally my back, like my low back. And I would be doing this cobra pose, and I could literally feel like the acupuncture points
Yes.
that I had tried acupuncture to stimulate to like loosen all of those muscles. And even it has been like a week of me like consistently doing these stretches, and I swear it's like unlocking stuff. Like I can't even explain the sensations I feel. It's like so wild. So wild. I love it. Yoga.
I
Yeah, I'm like
listen.
everybody do it. I'm like it is the cure. I'm like just it will fix so many
It
of your
will.
problems. Like I swear.
It will. And I
So good.
the other the first of all, I love everything you're saying, and I particularly love the point you're making about the back line, because people don't. I'm like, all of that is connected from the tips of your toes all the way to your skull. Like there is connection between your fascia, your muscles. And so everything is ruffled
Mhm.
up and tight, you're gonna feel, oh, it's here, oh, it's my low back. Nah, it's really actually it's your hamstrings, like, or whatever it is. And just taking a moment and get a tennis ball, get a foam roller,
I have,
do
bro. I have everything. I've tried everything. When I tell you, I was desperate. I was like, foot doctor. My dad was like, I have visions. You're gonna have to do surgery. I was like, Daddy, no,
I reject that.
no. And then the doc was like, nah, you just gotta stretch. And I was just like, I can stretch. Let's do these stretches. I
And
was
just
like,
and
I can
two
stretch.
two classes in, you feel better. A month in, your life is
Exactly.
different. Yeah.
Exactly. Like low key, when I don't do my yoga practice, I'm like, when can I go back? I'm just like, take me. I just need to be here. Like, I don't know what it is. I also feel like for some reason I just feel more connected to like my culture, like being like Indian, I just feel like so connected to like the the like the Vedas and the texts that like like the gurus read and like the yogis practice, like it all like comes together and it's like they literally have all the answers that we have been asking for, but people are just like, oh, it's the east don't know, the east is woo woo, these people crazy, science doesn't have the exact mathematical equation to justify what these woo woo people are feeling, so we're just gonna put them over there in the bucket of
But
crazy.
here's
And
the
it's
thing,
like
they're getting there.
when you feel it,
That's it.
when you feel, yeah, I know. I think they are like, bro, the things that I have been seeing and like learning about tech around frequency is just mind blowingly. Like, I'm just like, I'm so excited for the future. I'm just like, people, it's gonna be great. Like,
No, we are legitimately up leveling as a society. And it's funny because my husband is like total science road, and he comes to me, he shares these things, and there's this like deep knowing. And I'm like, but you could know too. I'm like, you don't need someone to
mm-hmm.
tell you this, what these scientists are explaining. And,
It's in here.
you can feel it. You want to know the universe, go inside your own body. Like all of these things
Exactly.
that they're making sense of. I forgot the one he told me recently. Um, but he was saying it, and I was like, oh, science says it's really, really cool. What the heck was it? Oh, I wish I could tell you, but it was such a rad thing for science to realize. But I'm like, it will
Yeah.
mean nothing. Like all of this stuff is mental play, right? You
Yeah, it
have
is.
scientists who understand the truth of the universe and they're still miserable, right? And this is something that, Buddhas will tell you. Buddhas have been telling us, the Vedas have been telling us
Exactly.
for
They
thousands of
literally have been
years,
preaching it
right? But
from the towers.
when you live it, when you know it, not because it was in a test tube or in some controlled environment, when you know deeply the oneness of us all, there is a peace that comes that is inexplicable and it stays. And that
Mhm.
is very, very different than
Mhm.
getting something. And no judgment, because I'm sure people who do this, they love it. They love the experience of it. And there's more.
But I feel like when cuz like it's interesting cuz I always like I felt like struggled with like at least my like how I made sense of the world, especially when I was younger, just cuz even in St. Martin, like the Indian society, like nobody really like listens to, you know what I mean? Like there's always like the otherness of like, as much as we're a diverse island, like I as an Indian always felt weird about like talking about what the Indians were doing in terms of like their religious practices, because like people didn't understand. Like I remember even when I would like there's this one celebration that we have for Lord Ganesh where you bring a figure of the Ganesh after you've done all of your prayers to the ocean as like offering to the Lord Ganesh. And as a kid, I would feel so mortified having to walk through the boardwalk and have people see me with like all of my uncles and my dad and everybody chanting, and I'm just like, oh my god, like these people are gonna think that I'm just with these weirdos and like I'm gonna be a loner, no one's gonna be my friend, like what is going on? But like the older I get, And like the more that I learned about really like what was in those texts, that my aunt would be reading all the time, and like really understanding like what is it that these people are talking about, like really what was it that the Buddha was preaching to the world about. I'm like, dang, I totally get it. Like, why is this not where we spend like all of our energy? Like, to me, it's so interesting, like, as a society, like, why we don't. Cause I'm like, aren't we? I'm like, isn't everybody curious as to why that, like, why we're here, what happens when we die, like, why we have conscious experiences, like, why we feel emotions, like we don't even know why we dream, people. Like, and we have been on this earth for like centuries, and science still don't know, and it's like interesting to me as people. It's like, how is this not the stuff that like we talk about more openly? Like, why are we talking about what the Kardashians are up to? I'm more interested in understanding why I feel energy when I meditate, you know what I mean? Or like, how do you actually, align your chakras and like do the like internal work to understand like the reality of reality, which is that it's all an illusion,
Yes.
and it's like it's just like so much stuff to wrap your mind around. But there's so much distraction as well in the world that it's so easy. It's like as you're trying to go in, the world is like pulling you out into it. It's like this weird battle of self. It's
Why do you think that is?
Yeah,
That as you're trying to go into it, the world is pulling you out?
because it's like I feel like for me, I've always had this like conflict, because on the one hand it's like, well, I want to be able to like sustainably facilitate an exploration in self, but we live in like a society that's like driven by different rules. We have bills to pay, we have stuff to do, and so it's like for me, I've always been like, okay, on the one hand, there's part of my ego that wants to climb like the ladders and be like, I'm the dictator. That's just like, I got it. I'm successful. Like, let me flex on you. There's like the part of my ego that just wants to be like, bam, look at me on that Forbes list. Told ya. But then there's like that other part of me that's like, Harsha, like this is you don't need to do all of this. Like, we know we're awesome. Like, you still a billionaire today, even if you don't have it in your bank account. Like, these are all things of the mind. And it's also like to understand, like, why are you stressing so hard about playing this role of a human when you're not even human? At the end of the day, like, you're not gonna take these billions with you. So it's like, why get caught up in like chasing something that's never gonna, at the end of the day, like, it's not gonna give you the answers that you really seek, even though you think like this is fun and like you can flex on people. Like, what good does this do for you? Um, and so it's like always been like this battle of like running away to the forest and just becoming one with the trees, and like like trying to like be like Bezos. And so it's because like for me, like I always think about things like I want it to be sustainable. Like I feel like for me, like my dream life is literally having like tons of land, like growing my own food, like really self-sustaining kind of homestead, like eco life
Nice.
with my YouTube channel. Me just creating like Tony Stark in my garage and just being on my own wave, creating stuff, putting stuff out in the world to inspire people, but not necessarily needing to depend on a system to sustain me. Like, I can sustain myself
Yes.
in this world, outside of a job, outside of the grid, outside of all of that, because I understand what it means to be on this earth. And for me, like, the world is so beautiful. Like, I want to spend more of my time with the world, just
Yes.
like observing nature and like actually being in nature and like growing with people and like having fantastic conversations with people and like helping people recognize like that they are so powerful and that they can really like be the creators of the life that they want, and that by me showing them that I can do it inspires them that they themselves can do it. And so that's like my internal battle. So it's like on the one hand, I stress about my 401k, and then the next time I'm meditating to observe my stressing of the 401k.
That, I mean, what it seems like, you're living your dream already, right? With inspiring people and showing up and showing people that you can live this life, beautiful, amazing, and then you can go to a new place and live this life. And absolutely everything you want is possible. And you can go from this corporate life to being a homesteader. Like, just your beingness is accomplishing that very basic goal of just showing people what is possible. So that's freaking awesome.
But it's so scary at the same time because it's like as you do it, there's always like the battle of doubt and fear and the what if and like even just observing like that those voices I feel like has been an interesting thing even for myself because I realized like expectation is a pain. Like it is like so it ugh like it's so hard to not have them and to have hopes and all of it, but it's like that also it like takes away from you actually doing it and it like sets you up like for disappointment. And every time I just hear the Buddha attachment to suffering and I'm like, ha ha ha, ha. I get it. I know. I'm doing this to myself. I understand. Ha ha ha. But we got to do it anyways, you know?
Well, but here's the thing, in fairness to all of us, just like you said, our education system across the world is set up to go towards one very particular idea of what success is. And so only one part of us is developed, this sort of like logical, um, predictable approach to life, where when you start to step into this new earth, this new world, this frequency, these frequency shifts that you're talking about, all of a sudden you are stepping into not what's predictable, not what is logical, but actually what is possible. And this is where you create from absolutely nothing. And that and
Mm-hmm.
it's the difference between living life as a human, where it's like, okay, these are the rules and these are how things make sense, and living life with this deep trust and faith and alignment. And then miracles happen, right? When you,
I
yeah,
swear, miracles, miracles. It's crazy. It's so crazy.
yeah. And it's, I really truly believe, and I think that that is my focus now, is taking all that I have learned experientially, whether it's, I'm going to say like on a meditation cushion, or just like the meditation of life, like this like deep oneness with life that I've spent the last 10 plus years focused on, and just sharing it with people, just absolutely, and sharing it with them, not to say that the road that I've walked or the techniques that I use are for them, but for them to run it through their system and find their own unique alignment. Because I feel like it's not math, right? It's not some equation. It's something that you've got to see, like, how does this work for me? And what
Exactly.
makes sense for me? And, now as a mom, that's all we do. The kids that we come into contact with, our own child, it is like, who are you? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be in this world? And teaching like those fundamental, teaching her what power is, right? And like not this force that we have defined it as, this like making things
Mm-hmm.
happen, but this like the power of who you are, and just
Exactly.
letting that like lead her life, just foundationally, like in a moment, in a moment
Yeah.
sooner than I'm ready for it, she's going to choose, and she's going to choose whatever she wants. But I think that we do children a disservice not to talk to them about what life really is. And again, nobody talked to us about it, and most of us don't know how to teach it, right? I've been in this world of personal development and spirituality for a really long time. And what I've found more than anything is that people understand things intellectually. And I'm like, boy, oh boy, but your mind is not going to help you. Like the mind can't help
In
you
this world,
live
exactly.
this.
In that world, it can't. It really can't. If anything, it will hold you back, and that will bring suffering. You know what I mean? Because like it's on some level, I feel like the ego loves logic. You know, because it makes it
Yes,
more convincing. Like it can attach you so deep in self when it uses logic because well,
it makes sense.
it's logic. Like you can't argue with that. But I feel like when you tap into like that spiritual all of us, I feel like we have it. There's different ways I think we use language to discuss it, and I've been noticing that a lot recently that the words that we use will resonate with people differently. But at the end of the day, it's all still relating similar messages. The logical mind will really rob you from like really doing that deep internal work. And like as someone, like I feel like when you met me, I was really deep in my ego. Like I really was all about being like that intellectual perfectionist. Like I was number one, you know what I mean? Like in my mind, like but to realize like why, like to even have to go and ask myself, why do you need to be number one?
Mhm.
Like why are you so obsessed with being number one? Like is number two really that bad? Like why do you, what is this like feeling of needing to prove yourself? Like you know, like you've always known who you were and how awesome you are and what you are curious about. Like why do I feel the need to prove it to other people? And it's like I think for a lot of people, how do you even have those like conversations like with yourself and to recognize like that we are all one, just with different faces. And I guess I'm curious, like how, like when did you understand the concept of oneness? Because I feel like when I really realized it, I agree, it totally brings about like this wave of peace and understanding. Like there's no reason to really, like even when I get upset, like it's hard for me to really take my upsetness seriously because I always go back to this like, well, it's oneness, you know, like at the end of the day, like feel that emotion when it's present, but understand that that is not who you are, you know. But yeah, like yeah, how did it click for you?
I mean, I think that all of my sort of, oh, people, you know, you want to make it intellectual like that, it'll always be intellectual. You never live it. I think that there's for me, there was only so far that I could go understanding things on um, a surface level. And I think that when I lived on the island, I lived on the island for 7 years, and at some point at that time, I had obviously I moved there after Amsterdam for so people understand the timeline. So this means that I had completed a coach training that was very deeply based in energy and spirituality. I had um, become a yoga teacher and run a number of, had a number of yoga classes and talked about all of the spirituality and all these workshops. I had, at that point, I was meditating a particular type of meditation where you go away for, you know, basically 12 days and you are in complete silence for that. And I had done that course a
Goals.
number of
These are, you see,
times.
this is why I need money. I want to do stuff like this.
That course actually is 1000% free. So just so you know, I am sure that there is one near you
Okay, okay.
and it is completely free and you actually cannot even donate unless you actually complete the course. So just know it is absolute fire. I do not do that style of meditation anymore, but I highly recommend that people give it a try because I think that it's a beautiful introduction to deeply experiencing oneness in your body. But even after all of that, while I lived on the island, I hit a depression like no depression I had ever experienced before. And so this is from a child being sexually abused who I realized when I was still working as a lawyer, I was talking to a girlfriend. I was like, you know how it is when you get up in the morning, you have to dig out of that deep hole just to get to zero so that you can like maybe have a good day. And she looked at me and she was like, no, I don't know how that is. And I was like, wait, what? I'm
Yeah.
like, this isn't like everybody doesn't wake up like deeply depressed. And I realized that I had, since the abuse, just experienced like low grade depression, like just like for 20 years. And anxiety. I was
Mm.
deeply anxious. And so with the yoga and meditation and coaching, I had worked a lot of that stuff out, but it was still present in my life. And then I hit this deep depression, like deep. So at this point, I'm just coaching and helping people feel better. I'm out here in these streets leading yoga classes, 10 a week, plus private, and I am depressed. And the process of climbing out of that culminated again back in India. where I met a woman who I will be eternally grateful for my entire life. And working with her, I was able to live and experience oneness, not as a concept, but as that's it. That's all of it. And that I met her back in 2017. And when I tell you, I have not experienced depression or anxiety in the sense that I understood it. It was like when I lived oneness, I realized, like, what is this? What is depression? What is anxiety? What is any of this stuff that we label? It's an experience. And you've been talking a lot about this observing, and it's like, what if I observed it, right? And this is with the style of meditation, of Vipassana meditation. What if I observed it truly with nothing, no addition, no added emotion, no now I'm sad because I'm sad, right? Like just
exactly.
let the sadness, we don't have to call it, let the experience that you're having be there. It is there to be felt and experienced. And so I would say in 2017, I had that experience of living oneness for like an extended period of time. And then this past 2 years with COVID, this technique has come to me that, girl, I literally can't. It has been maybe the second biggest gift, because I think that you can experience oneness, right? Or with my clients that have been doing the spiritual work forever and ever and ever, and they get it. They may not just mentally get it, but they very deeply understand these concepts. And over the past couple of years, this technique has come to me, and it's all about this idea that what happens when you get it and you still can't, so you're with your significant other, and this person has said something that upsets you, and you realize, you know what, this is not a big deal. We can have a good night tonight, right? We don't have to throw it all away, or like, I just want to hug this person, and you,
we're like, let's not. We'll put a pin in that argument. We see what's happening, but we
yes,
will not go there.
we don't have to go, or maybe just like you said, you just realize it's just not that serious. But then internally, you can't stop pouting. You can't allow yourself to just let it go, even though everything in your soul is like, let it go. Something in your body is like, no. Yes, like, it absolutely not. Or
it's that voice that's like, but blah blah,
right, and
like,
another thing, right? Like,
exactly.
that voice.
Let's not forget.
Exactly.
Okay, then.
Exactly. So like when that voice comes up, or when you're like, you know what, it is time for me to live my best freaking life. I'm going to take this crazy step. I'm ready to leap. I'm ready to go. And I'm just so excited about it. And then you come up to the edge and you don't do it. And like as a coach, so right now I coach mostly. As a coach, I'm like, what gets in the way of these people who understand and, like, in many ways in their life live these spiritual concepts, and yet for some reason there are these points in their life where they can't follow through. They can't make it manifest like completely and totally through and through. And what I've realized is that we can know oneness, and the body still remembers different pains, different experiences. Like, there are a ton of little girls in there that are like, oh, but that thing that happened that hurt me so much. Oh, that rejection I experienced. And so I think that there's the point of experience oneness, and then there's and knowing it, and then there's a purification process that happens after that, where oneness is always the measuring stick. and figuring out for yourself, how do I, not even how, I feel like how questions are low vibrant, low frequency. What am I committed to in order to release the rest of this so that I'm living fully in oneness, in freedom, in fearlessness? And, I've got one technique, I'm sure there are a million, but for me, it happened in 2017 that I was able to fully live the concepts that I've understood. And now every
Mm,
single day, it is a recommitment to that, and
mm.
like a continuous clearing and purifying of the parts of me that are so afraid still, that are still experiencing whatever they're experiencing, and like taking them in and like listening to them and loving them through it and supporting them through it, so that the disparate parts inside of me also become one. Right? Because there are a lot of people living in there
I feel
that
you. I
have
feel you.
opinions like, no, totally go for it. It's like, wait, do you really want to go for it? Like, another one's in
Yeah,
there like,
oh
this
my
is too
god, like I
much.
swear, as you talk, I'm just like, yeah, that's literally me. Like I am, this is exact, I
It's
see.
not you, it's yous, right? Because one is like,
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
gonna have some tea and
Exactly.
watch the trees. Another one's like, I need a glass of wine. Another one's like, you know what? How about a shot?
Yeah, and then someone else is like, but my back hurts. And it's like,
Exactly.
bro, but didn't you say you were gonna do that work you were gonna do? And then it's like, oh, now I'm gonna make you feel bad because you
Oh
didn't do the
yeah,
work you were supposed to
you're a
do.
terrible
And then it's
person.
just, yeah, it's, yeah, exactly. And then you gotta be like, guys, quiet, quiet. This is not,
Everybody.
they're, la, 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 meditate, breathe in, breathe out, let's center
Yeah.
ourselves. And then they'll go back down. And then they come back again. You're like, okay, okay. I see you. I see you. I'm loving you. I see you. Please just shush. No, shush. Shush.
Right? But then even recognizing, it's like, oh, because what happens when we get into it is we start to hyper identify with the one who wants to meditate, right? So that's the superior one, and that's the one I want to go for. That's not you either,
Mm.
girl. That ain't you. The
Oh
one
my
who's like,
gosh.
shush,
There's
shush,
so many
shush, calm. It's
layers to
just,
it.
there's so many layers. And so it's like this living oneness. Again, you're committing every single moment. I know one of my teachers, his teacher, was asked, well, don't you just arrive at this understanding of oneness or awakening or enlightenment or whatever it is that people want to call it?
Yeah.
Like, aren't you done? And like, or how does that work? And my teacher's teacher said, oh no, every day, just a million times a day, you are recommitting to this
Now I see
experience.
why the monks went up into the mountains. They were like, I need to get away from all of this.
Girl.
Just to
But here's the problem. The monks, okay, like, you take everywhere you go, there you are. So I mean, I've met a whole bunch of monks, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's working out for you, because your thoughts are still there, and all the people who have ever offended you or hurt you, and then all the 50 billion yous in there who had this experience or that experience, it was a great one, it was a not, they're all in the freaking Himalayan cave with you, okay, talking. Just, they didn't stop
I
talking.
feel you.
There are a billion
I
people in
know.
the cave. So like,
I
even
feel.
that doesn't work, because girl, that's, you talked about it earlier, like, I just want to check out. I was like, if I don't marry this guy, there's a strong part of me that's going to be like, I need to be a Buddhist nun. Like, I'm just going to go up there,
I feel. Yeah.
hang
And it's
out.
so interesting. Like I love these types of conversations because like I don't know if you've seen this show on Netflix. It's literally like my favorite show. I pray one day to meet Duncan Trussell and all these peeps in real life. God, make it happen, universe. You hearing me? Make it happen. But like the Midnight Gospel, there's this one episode that I love to play, and I watch it. I'll watch it over and over because the message of it is just so good that sometimes when I see myself being that runaway train, even though I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm still a runaway train. I rewatch this, especially when I like feel like as a lost 23-year-old, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Blah, blah, blah. When I go through that, I'll watch it, and it's pretty much like you were saying, like Duncan's character Clancy goes in like this universal simulator, kind of like the metaverse, pretty much, and like he goes to this like a planet, and he's like on this cliff, and as he like gets beamed down to this planet, he destroys the we'll just say he's the monk in this episode. Like he destroys his painting, and the monk looks at the painting that he just finished painting, and he was like, "Oh wow, interesting." And then, so Clancy is like all like furious and just like agitated, like we all are, just like just like blah, 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 like he's all tangled up, and he's like, calm down. And he's like, okay. So he tries to sit there and meditate, and all he can hear are the voices, that are like, oh, I'm bored, or let's do something else. Like, this isn't fun anymore. Why are you doing this? Who are you trying to prove? Like, and then he got distracted by this monkey that was playing plugs, which ego, monkey brain. I was like, I see the analogy here.
Got it.
And he chases the monkey, and like the monkey's doing all of this stuff, and he's like tumbling down this hill, just like full blown chaos, just like mad, upset. Just he hits, like his elbow. He's just like, ah! And then the monkey like sits him, like tells him to like shh, and like sits him down, and like forces him to just like stay still for a second. And it was like in that moment everything quieted,
Yes.
and he could see everything, like from the flies buzzing around to just everything that was going on. And in that moment he saw the oneness, the life, the how everything flows together. And it was interesting because he was like, yeah, like there's like I forget, there was three things he was saying. There was like stillness, spaciousness, and it was something else with an S, but it was sort of like this idea of like when you create like quietness, you create room to listen. When you create spaciousness, then you create space for not only yourself, but for all those other yous and for other people. And only when you create spaciousness, like in your mind, like he's like, you could have like a mind that's fully cluttered with just all of this of like all of your experiences of life. But when you quiet and you kind of just give them space to exist, you realize you have a lot more space up there than what you thought. And every time I watch it, I'm just like, it just makes me feel so good, because I'm just like, yes, like exactly. And then it was funny because then Clancy was like, well, I'm enlightened now, like I'm enlightened, like give me my award, like I have ascended to the next dimension. And then it was like, obviously that's not how it works. And he was like, how do you know you're enlightened? And he didn't have an answer, and he was like,
who is enlightened?
Like,
right?
Exactly. And it's just like, I love the show so much because there's just so many layers to it, and it teaches you so much, I feel like, about just existence and like being. And I like really wish, I'm like, why isn't this the stuff that we be talking about in college or in school, or like even like this is what we should talk about at Thanksgiving, like
But
what
let's be the change, right? Like this, even
exactly.
with my family knows, like this girl is not here for it, right? Like I am like the quiet girl in a corner. I'm sitting with my grandmother watching Perry Mason and Matlock, because if we're not having that conversation, the same on the island, right? When I lived there, like, I had my moments of partying here and there, but for the most part, like I was sitting wherever I was, and if you want to come have that conversation, then we could talk. If you want to talk about anything, if you want to talk about the Kardashians, I'm not keeping up. So I don't know.
I know.
And so
I'm like, she got
that's
divorced again.
oh, I don't even know what you're talking
Lord,
about. I literally don't. I literally, but and again, it's no judgment. It's alignment and love for me, right? It's like this is not an aligned conversation for me to have. I'm not going to be the best person for you to have fun with this conversation. So, but if you want to talk about the depths, then I am willing to dive like deep, 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 deep. But before we move on, I first of all, you said it's called the Midnight Gospel. Midnight Gospel.
Yeah, on Netflix. It's a wild ass show, but fantastic. It goes to those depths.
I love it. And what I love about it is the fact that the monkey said shh, because my belief in terms of like this idea of purification is that we actually have to start not shushing the monkey mind, not, overcoming it with meditation or, a sitting, like, but actually listen to it.
Sit with it.
Like,
Yeah.
literally, not just sit with it, like, talk to it. Like, these various parts, that part of you that is freaking out and is like, I still want to be number one. Let it talk to you. What's going on, my love?
I feel that's what I mean. That's why I'm quiet most of the time because I'm like chatting with myself
That's
like
it.
all the time.
That's
Like when
it.
people are like, "Why is she so quiet?" It's really because I'm thinking to myself and having whole conversations with myself about what I'm thinking about to myself.
Yes, that's it. And doing that in the context of loving that part of you that is losing her mind because she really wants to be number one, but then she kind of wants to be a homesteader, but then she kind, like, just letting her just tell you all of it. You don't have to fix it.
Breathe.
You don't have to
Exactly.
change it. You just have to listen to, you know, and it's interesting because this approach came to me, I think, in part as a mom, right? Like, so many things that
Mm.
happen, like Asha trips and falls, like, what you gonna do about it, right? Like, I can't, we're not
Yeah.
gonna fix that. But like, I can be with you in this moment and like listen to everything you have to say about it and love you through it and make sure that doesn't get trapped in your body, that
Exactly.
now what's trapped in her body is the fall and the fear of, running down this street. And then what becomes trapped is the fact that your parents don't listen to you, right? And so you can't feel
Mhm.
pain and they don't want you to cry. And so then that gets trapped in there. So I'm not allowed to show an emotion. And so you got all, like, literally
So
one
many
tiny event,
things.
every bit of it gets caught in your body. And so you're out here in these streets understanding oneness, and those parts of you are not integrated. They are still upset. And so now when you trip and fall at work with something that you were working on, right? Like,
It wants to be like,
metaphorically,
"Aha."
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It wants to be like, I told you, I was trying to protect you, but
Yes.
look, here you out here trying to make us all vulnerable,
Yeah.
and look what you
Yes.
did.
You're trying to live
Look what
free.
you did. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And now you broke and unhappy.
Yes.
Who told you to quit your job?
Yes, absolutely. But, and if you would listen to the one who's like, now you're broke, who told you to quit your job, and you let her say everything that she needed to say, and you loved and adored her through all of it, not fixing anything. Because, like, a
Exactly.
part of you is going to want to come in and be like, well, first of all, we quit our job because we hated it and we were on the cusp of burnout. That's another voice that needs to be listened to later. Right?
Yeah,
So we gotta
exactly.
put that one on the thing and keep listening to this one because they're all in there. And once you listen to them on any given topic that you are experiencing this, like, disintegration with, then you come to that spaciousness and that stillness and that ease and that peace. And it's like, now what you choose is from a place of power, it's from a place of alignment. This is from a place of fearlessness, because
Mhm.
fear is just a response to all of the things ping ponging inside of you. But when you're listening, you clear it bit by bit by bit. You actually get to make powerful, honest, true choices about what you want to do. And the universe has got your
Preach.
back. And so if
Exactly.
you don't have some part of you that's like, this is all going to crumble, like, every 20 seconds, that keeps you acting in fear and, of course, moving
Mhm.
towards the crumble and not away from it, then you actually get to be in a place where your life goes from good to great, from great to extraordinary. We don't need um, the fall. We don't need the things to go bad in order for things to go better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I feel like literally what you're saying is literally what I am doing. Like, I kid you. Like, this whole like internal of trying to show up every day and being that person that exudes oneness, like, I'm trying, like that's literally what I try to do. And it's like really to like, how do I act it from a place of alignment where I know I'm being my best advocate, where I know I'm doing like what it is I was put on this earth to do, like fundamentally being that person. Because it's like, it's weird, like sometimes when I look back and I'm like, but like, Harsha, you've always known. Like I'll have that voice that's like, Harsha, you've
You've
always, yeah, but
always known.
you always wanted that. You always knew that. Like it's like, and it's funny because it's like I catch myself reminding myself of things that I've known when I was younger, but then somewhere along the way it like kind of got, swide swapped by fear or like doubt. And then to come back and to like look at like, because I feel like sometimes your inner child has a lot to teach you and remind you about the fire and the purity of like who you are. And so it's like when I go back and like when I sit with like my inner child and I'm really thinking about like what were the things that I always wanted to do before anybody gave me any sort of like reality check, as adults like to tell you. Going back to like that place and really trying to understand like it all, like when I look at like my life now and I look at where I'm trying to go, it like I can't help but smile because I'm like, oh my god, like it all making sense. Like it's all like falling into place. Like as much as I will sit here and be like, how are we gonna get to the goals we need to, and I'll be like, don't know, but we've always figured it out because we've always ended up somehow one way or the other manifesting exactly what I said I would manifest. Don't know how in the hells I did it, but we are here. And it's like, well, if that is proof in and of itself of my power, this is only the
That's
beginning,
it.
and it's like now that I have like the recognition of it and like I'm aware of like this whole process, it's like everything is like click 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 click. Oh,
That's it.
oh.
That's it. And I love just this recognition. And I said it earlier, like, how is a low frequency question? It really is. It's a human question. It is a question that's trying to get you into the field of predictability. If I do this, then this will
Mm,
happen. And it's like, this is fear living. This is like, promise me it's going to be okay
mm.
living, as opposed to living from the just the power of who you are. Like when I take a step back and I look at how Asha lives her life, like she's like she's just doing what feels good in the moment,
Exactly,
right? Like she's not trying
exactly.
to, she's like, how am I going to paint this, piece of paper? How am I going to color in this Paw Patrol book? Like she is like, she has, that's oneness, right? And so like when you're talking about those inner children, like that's what's coming to mind. Like when you were a
Yeah,
child, you
exactly,
weren't
exactly.
trying to work
You
in the
didn't
field
care
of
about any of
predictability. You
that.
didn't. You were just getting things
Yeah, you didn't
done.
care about what was in the lines. You just colored,
You didn't
and
care about
whatever
what was
happened
right.
happened. Exactly, exactly, exactly.
But we want as adults to get back there, right? Like that, I think that right there, again, my life's work. It is like, what if, right? Because half the people I work with who are experiencing burnout or depression or this or that, they're not living like Asha. They're not living like that child that you were, that knew what it was, that could just enjoy. They didn't talk about enjoying the
Nothing.
process,
Yeah,
right? But they were
exactly. Just
enjoying the
enjoying
process,
it.
right?
Exactly.
Like they were just
Exactly.
enjoying it, whatever it was. If we could get back to that,
Exactly.
right? If we could get back to honoring what feels good, my clients, I'm like, you like, I mean, it's not not what I say unless I'm like yelling at a client, but like, I'm like, you don't want to do, like, what are we doing here? Like, are you freaking kidding me? But like, just supporting people to understand, like, you feel bad because you are so distant from yourself. You are so unaligned with your true beingness that, of course, you feel terrible because there's this part of you that is true
It's telling you no,
that is
no,
just
this isn't
like,
it, honey.
you are so far away from me. And until and
Exactly.
slowly walking back to the truth of who you are, I think like that's what we're doing in life. But if I feel like the more quickly we can do that, the earlier that we can do that, it's good anytime, right? I don't care if it's your
Exactly.
last breath,
Exactly.
but the earlier you can do that, you
Exactly.
start to live while you have life in you. Like you really get to like, you know, that comedian said, I don't know who it was, maybe Martin Lawrence, like ride it until the wheels fall off. Otherwise, it's like
Exactly.
a
Exactly.
tiptoeing kind of life, and it's, kind of good, but most of the goodness is like a reprieve from all of the crap that you
Eh.
hate. So you have nice dinners. I'm telling my own story, right? You have nice dinners because you like hate your job, and so you spend $1 billion online shopping because, like, again, you hate your life and your relationship's kind of garbage, and so you're doing all these things, taking these beautiful trips, and it's all to distract you from the fact that your life sucks. Or, and hear me out, you could just let yourself be happy. When as I shifted my life, it was insane to me how much less money I spent. How much
Because you
less
don't need, you
money I
realize you
spent.
don't need anything.
I
Like,
don't
you really
need
realize you
anything.
don't need anything. Like, everything you need is in you.
That's it.
And anything you need, you can literally get from the earth. Like,
Literally.
we can literally feed ourselves. It's just we're all lazy and we go to the grocery store, but we could all feed ourselves. Which is again why I want to go to the homestead life. You
Listen,
see the vision.
me and Willem listen, we're walking that road for you. We've been
Do it. Get
looking
there, and then
everywhere.
invite me over. Like
Always invited. Always invited. But that's literally our dream for the last few years. So we've been like
exactly.
looking all over Europe for some land so that we can get off the grid and open a retreat center, a spiritual center, and just
Hell
let people
yes.
come and
And
like
just
play with the
relax.
monkeys.
Harvest some
Just
fruit. You
right?
know.
Be quiet, have
And
some
that's the thing.
space.
That's so sometimes when I think back to like even my childhood, I really think about like just like the weekends where I didn't care, like I didn't have nobody expected anything from me. I could just walk barefoot on the hot pavement, feel the sun on my skin, hear like the ocean crashing. What did I achieve that day? Nothing really, but it was still a fantastic day. And even in that day, I would have less anxiety, less worries, less concern, and like everything still worked out even though you can take that space to just be and everything will still work out. I feel like at least I've always had this thing of like, but you need a plan. You got to plan. Winners plan. To get to the top, you got to plan. You got to have the plan. And COVID obviously shows you what good is the
Tell
plan?
me about your
Like,
plan.
like,
Tell me
like,
more.
what the plan? Did the plan didn't think about this though? So like, what good is the plan? Which is why sometimes I don't even get people that are in the stock market because like I will talk to some of these financial managers and be like, so what if the stock market crashed, like global warming come, everything just go to shit, and they're like, well, you'll still be the rich of the rich. I'm like, bro, that is not comforting to me. Like, I need someone to tell me, well, hopefully we could use some of these funds. We buy you some homestead. We could grow some crops. This is the type of sustainability I feel like we need to be
but
talking
but
about.
even that, when you think about it, like, why would you put a space between you and your crops, right? Like, why do we need a stock market and like some usability of that in order to get, girl, you better go get that land out. Like, you better go wherever you live right now in this moment
I
and like
know,
plant
but
a
it's like
seed.
I have a
Get
I
started.
I have low key. I literally have two avocados growing in my crib as we speak. I'm slowly trying to like the way that I'm thinking of it to make it like feasible as I manifest it is like I have like tangible steps. So I'm trying to figure out like, well, I need to understand like how to grow food, like actually grow food. Like what does it take? How do you plant stuff together? Um like what kind of homestead do I even really want? How much land would I need realistically? Where in the world would I even want to be? I have no clue. I need somewhere that's at least, semi decent. I need sun. I know that for a
I
fact.
need some
I
warmth.
I cannot do these grays. These grays are cool, but I need real vitamin D, not the synthetic kind,
Yeah.
Um but it's just like I feel like now that I have sort of like this awareness of self, and I feel like I'm moving into, because I always would question myself, like, am I in alignment with my best self? Am I in alignment? Am I on that path where I really feel like I'm creating the life that I always knew I wanted for myself? And I only feel like now can I really say yes, like that I genuinely feel like I am on that path. And because I feel that like I was saying, there's just like these shifts, and there's like more clarity on like what lies ahead, if that makes sense, without me even needing to plan. It's like, because when I was younger, I could never tell you like how I was gonna get there. All I could tell you was I needed to go to college because my parents wouldn't leave me
Yeah,
alone
because
until I did that. But
that's gotta happen.
now that it's done, and I'm like, okay, we did that, we accomplished that, we said we would, you did it, you got it, kudos, high five, to myself. Now I gave myself space to just figure it out and kind of like have this mental anguish and go deep within myself. I feel like COVID gave me really the time to go deep within myself. And I had like the support of like a really great boyfriend and like my parents, who are absolutely fantastic, to like really like talk through the voices that I was having or struggling with in my head, to get the clarity to be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now I feel like I'm in the but I'm also like, there's a part of me that worries like, how long are we gonna be in before like that other voice just starts like ramming through again, to be like,
But if it does, right? Listen. Just listen to it. You don't have to
I
fix it,
feel
because
you.
this is the thing, right? This is how I end up going in circles for a million freaking years to my client, because we're trying to fix that voice.
Yeah.
It's just a voice. We're trying to fix the air. It's like, dude, hey, tell me more, my love. What is happening? What's happening with you? What the voice that's breaking through? It's breaking through because it's upset, my love. Don't tell it to shush. I don't want to hear it. You're causing waves on my clear, beautiful pond water surface. Like, you can't do, like, just from your place of stillness, just hear it out and tell it it's okay. Of course you're feeling that way. Tell me more. When's the first time you felt that way? How do you, who made
Another
you feel that
click
way?
right there.
Right?
I swear. Yeah, you're totally right. It's interesting because it's like, I feel like when you grow up told to kind of ignore your emotion, or
Yes.
like ignore what you think, or like suppress, like you said, like really suppress
That's
it, like
it.
don't cater to, like, because if you listen to it, that makes you weak in some way. I don't know.
It's going to take
But you're right.
over. It's going to,
You have to listen to it because it is trying to tell you something. And if you don't listen to it, it's just going to come back
that's it.
louder, stronger,
Yes.
with more force.
That's it.
You're right.
And it's going to
You're
keep
so
coming
right.
back until you
Exactly.
listen to literally everything it has to say. You want to talk to that voice until it's in tears, until it's like, and this is the thing. This is why I'm just so worried. This is why I'm just so upset. Right? And you think about a parent talking to a child, right? When a parent will really stop and listen, oftentimes that those tears are going to ratchet up, and they're going to and just because it's like so much stuff. Even babies, they're just holding it all in because it's not safe to feel emotion, like you're just saying, because adults don't want to feel their emotions, and adults don't want to listen to those parts of them, so they want you to shush, and we just end up cramming it all down and making it bad. It's not bad. None of your inner children, as you call them, are bad. They're sweet little things that just want to be
I call
heard.
them the committee. They're the committee. I swear. Like, this is the only way I rationalize them. I'm like, this is the committee. The committee has rejoined. Here
Yes.
they are. This is doubt. Doubt, hi, it's nice to meet you.
Yes.
Fear, ego, and my inner child. And we just have conversations. And I sometimes am like, ego, not today. Okay, today is not. Or like I'll just like hear it. And then sometimes I'll like have to laugh because I'm just like, oh, this is so cute. Like, this is so cute. This is so
It is
cute.
cute,
And
though.
then it's funny though, because it's like, as a human, like, you don't think other humans feel this exact same way. Like, they don't have their own committee, but it's like we all have committees, like
We
all of us,
all.
and they're like constantly trying to run the meeting. Like,
And then there is the you that was there, that has to be there before any committee members, because who's listening? What is listening? Like,
exactly.
there has to be something that comes first, that comes prior to all voices, something that contains, right? We're not talking about a body, right? We can snatch your body and
Yeah.
still have you and still have all these voices. How many body parts could I cut off and there still be you, right? So it's not the body. So there's something before body, there's something before the committee. What's that? What's
I
that?
say source. And like I can feel it like when I meditate. I can like feel it when I like tell myself to go into myself. I can kind, like you feel the tingling sensation of your extremities, of just like even right now as I'm talking to you and I put like awareness into my body, I can like feel the sensation of like just my feet existing as feet.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is what is there before like the
But
I,
who
like the me.
who feels the feet existing as feet? Who feels the tingling? What feels? And not for you to answer, but right, just for anybody listening, like this is like that's the thing that as you get into it, it blows your mind. It's like
Yeah,
something has to there. You got to be something really interesting.
to feel. I
You got to be something to feel. Yeah.
But then I think like, is it like, then I go into like that must be my ego that feels, because my ego's attached to sense of self, which is attached to me having a body, and it's through the vehicle of my so-called body. But then it's interesting because it's like even when people don't have bodies, like they lose limbs, they still feel those
Yeah.
limbs. Hmm.
Hmm.
This is interesting. See, this is why I'm like, why is this not where why is this not what, the government is funding? Like these are the questions
Yeah,
that I
well, the
need to
government's never
know.
going to spend money on this, and I am not QAnon or any whatever, but the government has, from my very,
Their own agenda.
I
I
mean,
feel you.
what
I feel
benefit do
you.
they have to people, to free people? Nothing. Like that.
None.
Like government and big business there's no win for them in having truly free people the way they're set up now. Now, if
Mm.
as we ascend, as we move to the new earth, I think, and I mean, I see this, like there are some companies that I've worked with, that my clients work for and work with, and I'm just like, they're doing some really, really awesome things, and they're very, very serious about walking their talk. And then there are,
Mm.
you know, people who everything out there is beautiful talk, but there's no walking
I
associated
feel you.
with that talk.
It's
But
just all
it's
marketing.
marketing.
There's no backbone. It's like if you go inside that company, it's not what it look like to you on the
It
Instagram.
is not
Like,
at all. But I think that if we could just trust, right? Like, so when I left the practice of law, there were lawyer friends who really felt like my leaving was a judgment of
mm,
their life choices. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This is just about me. This is about my alignment. This is about the best use of me. And for me, I could look and I could say, there are people that this is the best use of them, right? They love this. Like they
mm.
get so excited every fresh new case, these clean red well folders, like they are just jumping into their heart explodes. I mean, I remember liking that thing
Like
as
I'm
well.
about to crush this
I am
proceeding.
about to do this, and they love it so much. And if we could just trust that free people would also just want to go deeper into technology, would just want to do,
That's what I think.
yeah.
That's literally what I think. I'm like, people naturally create. You mean to tell me if we just let people do what they actually wanted, there wouldn't be people that obviously want to build planes, that want to build laptops, that want to build this stuff?
Yes.
Of course. I
Yes.
mean, people are naturally creative people. There's just some people that feel like they can't, and so they don't. But they would have been fantastic. Probably would have changed the face of technology as we know it. But they're doing some shitty job that, well, because life pushed them this way.
Well, wait, they're doing that shitty job in part because somebody is building the plane or creating the technology, and they shouldn't even fucking be there. Sorry for my. They
That is
shouldn't
true
be there,
too.
right? Like,
I could
people are
tell you that.
taking up space that they shouldn't be taking
Yep.
up, and so then there's no space for the person
Because
who's
they have other
really
passion.
they have
Exactly.
another
Exactly.
passion. right? And so there's plenty of space for everybody to have exactly what they want. But because we come through this system where it's like, this is success, then everybody just goes towards
Yeah.
this success. And
And
then
it
it
has to
becomes
look like
scarce,
this.
right? It becomes like
Yeah.
a scarcity model because there is not enough space for all the people who want to do it, because 90% of them shouldn't be
To
doing
live
it.
right on the coast. Exactly. It's so interesting because it's like when I, as you know, as someone that works in corporate America and I build technology, and I sometimes think about like the role technology kind of plays in the world, and as someone who's also spiritual and thinks it's super important to go within ourselves, it's interesting because I think like technology is such a beautiful thing, and I feel like it's our manifesting and literally like manipulation of frequency and energy. I think if anybody really understood
Yes.
like what technology did, like literally we are playing and manipulating frequency all the time to send information. Like just to even record this podcast, we are generating frequency, we're storing frequency, we're manipulating frequency,
Yes.
that when another person hears it for whatever reason, it resonates to them in this language that we know as English, and then they can absorb information out of it. Like literally technology is magic. Like
Yes.
I'm just like people, I'm like if you really understood like how GPS, how all of these satellites synchronize and all of this clocks, and clocks literally use quartz crystals to keep time.
Quartz crystals that people are like, oh, that's so stupid that you have your crystals. And I'm like, do y'all know what these crystals do, you lunatics? Like, this is
Cameras
crazy.
are literally made out of like gems, you know what I mean? Like I remember like the iPhone had like a sapphire, lens. Like this is literally all, guys.
Yeah,
I'm like, hello.
get with it.
Like we're all playing with frequency every day. Like this is not new. And it's just, as someone like I see the good of technology and I see the bad, because I love the metaverse. I think it's super dope, but I'm also like that draws people more into this reality and less into their sense of self. And like I have concerns around like that. But I feel like if technology, like you said, if people were really chasing after the like the genuine, like pure curiosity that you have as a kid when you get up in front of class and you're like, I want to be this, before everybody laughs at you and is
Yes.
like, no, you can't do that. Before teachers shame you and you're like, you're too dumb for that. Never, don't even dare. Or before like you have people that are like, yeah, that'll never happen. You realize like those, like that is what I want for people. It's
Yes.
like that's literally what I want for people, is for people to be like, no, you can totally be that.
Yeah.
I came from an island and I work at Microsoft. How?
How?
If I asked how, I would never have gotten the answer. I just did. I took the chance, I took the leap of faith, I trusted myself, and guess what? The universe was like, yeah, let's open that door.
That's it.
Let's, why not? She needs to be there. They could use her. And but it's like I didn't do anything special, like literally, other than trusted myself. Literally, believed so deeply in myself that the only thing that could stop me is myself.
You literally stepped out of predictability, because predictability would have said, nope, no way, and stepped into the world of
Exactly.
potential, right? Like, just of playing with frequency in, like,
And it's so
first
weird
you.
because it's like you intuitively know it and feel it, and like there's no way to really explain like how I knew. But when I look back, I'm like, girl, you were talking about this like how the world was energy since you literally came out the womb. You had no clue what the hell you were saying, but that's literally what I've believed for like the longest, like that we are energy. Energy is literally current, like our currency of existence, and
Here's a call out then.
it's crazy how
Knowing
cool
that
it
that's
is.
true, then you have to know that what you said earlier was not true. That you are now just getting on the
What?
path. You're saying something like, oh, I can now truly say, like, answer yes, that I am on the path of, you know, becoming myself, or truly connecting with myself and living this life that I want to live in deep alignment. Like, your whole life has been a massive alignment,
I feel
right?
you. You're right.
All of
You're
it.
right. You're right.
All
This
of
is
it.
doubt. That was doubt talking. That was doubt showing its head. Doubt controlled the mic for a second.
Right? Because, like, I'm like, you can't, we can't pick and choose it, right? Like, it had to be this. Like it had to
You're
be
right.
this exact path you walked. And like that's also the power of your beingness, that it will speak
Mm,
to so many people because, you know, it's funny when I'm deciding who I want to work with in any way, shape, whether it's a personal trainer or it's a coach or it's that, like every single time, you know what I want to know? Did they walk a path like mine? Right?
mm.
Whether it was, you know, some things in my life have just come very easy. So I don't want somebody who's, it's been the struggle, right? Because that's not my journey. I want somebody who knows that we can go from good to great to extraordinary, right? And this, but then if it's this thing, I'm like, well, I don't want a personal trainer who's been like fit her whole life, right? Like, I want somebody who has a little bit of frump and everything like that, who knows what it's like. Where I'm like, girl, I just don't feel like it today, and she's
Yeah.
like, because her the motivation and the inspiration comes from somewhere different. So looking at your story, it's
Mm.
gotta be this. I want to know the people who are inspired by you, all of those humans, like it's gotta be the life that you're living because that speaks to them. It's like, yeah, she gets it. Like she knows and she's
And
been
I feel
through
like
it.
that's how you know, like, the universe is so abundant because literally just what you said, like, you will be perfect for somebody.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, someone's gonna resonate exactly with like your type of journey. Even like, I feel like a lot of times, like, even me, like, I'll get caught up and be like, oh, I can't because there's already too much. And it's like, no, honey, there's nobody like you on there. So how is there too much? You know, how is there too much? There's people that have been looking for literally your set, your type of crazy, and they still out there looking for that type of crazy, and you can give it to them. Like, why hold it back, you know? But yeah, it's recognizing that sense of like oneness and just like being okay with what happens. No matter what happens, it could be good, it could be bad, but recognizing like that doesn't define you, because at the end of the day you are literally limitless, and all you got to do
Yes.
is go back to that place of center and decide, okay, so what are we going to do next? Like, where do we feel like going now?
Yeah.
And just follow that.
That's it. And when we stop looking at it as it can be good, it can be bad, or this terrible, no good, you know, thing happened, and this wonderful set of like perfect circumstances happened, and like we start to move to, okay, this was an outcome. Like it was neither good nor bad.
Yeah.
Okay, here we are. What would I like to create from here? It gets it, like things move even more quickly, right? Like into the direction of alignment, because we don't have to shake off the expectation that it has to keep being good, or the desire that like bad not come again. It's just this like, what is it like, if Asha was going through her coloring book and she was like, oh well, that last page I colored, well that didn't turn out right, right? Like she's not doing that, right? She's like
Yeah, she's
literally,
not.
and like I saw her
She's like,
like,
I'm a color
I'm a
today.
color.
It is what it
I
is.
saw her
Exactly.
flipping through her coloring book the other day and she like landed on the page that she wanted to color. She got so excited and it made me remember when I would have my coloring books and I would be like, of all the pages in this book,
This
this one
one
right here is the
about
one
to get it.
it's gonna get it. Like seriously. And
Exactly.
like all, it was always like a mood, right? Sometimes I wanted like, you know, fat spaces to color. Sometimes I wanted to be complicated. And it was just like in that moment, like this page is so freaking aligned. And I didn't think about yesterday. I didn't think about what it's gonna be. I didn't pull out a special color palette. Like I'll be using these 8 colors only for this. Like it was just, I was in it. And I was just, right? Our whole life was meant to be that way. But like you said, somebody was like, don't get too ahead of yourself. Like, reality check, boo. This is how the real world
Like, you
works.
not know Picasso.
Right?
Like, what you think?
Right?
Like, check yourself. And it's like, nah, I may not be Picasso, but I am me. You know what I mean? And just being like, I am. Like, why am I not as valuable as Picasso? The only person saying that is me. Let the universe show up for me as it's always done. Like, I love this saying, like when I'm in a yoga practice and they're like, let the earth hold you. Oh, that feels like, I love when they say that. I instantly just relax because I'm like, why am I holding on all this tension? let the earth hold me.
Yes.
She will be there.
Yes.
And sure enough, she holds you.
Every time.
And it just feels like a hug. Like, I don't know. It's just
every time. But then it moves you into, and one of my favorite spiritual teachers, he wrote a book. Well, he never wrote books, but people would capture what he said about various topics, and it's like something like fame, fortune, and success, or something like that. And he was like, I could never teach a person, support a person, coach a person to be famous, because that would be to kill them. But I could teach you to paint in a way, we'll use Picasso this way. I could teach you to paint in a way that Picasso would be jealous. Like, this is the point of it all, right? It's not like the end goal, right? It's like, if you're out here in these streets painting your like hot mess, like, you know, your little, it's like a triangle on top of a square, and this is my house, but you were painting it like this is the most beautiful house ever, like you were like just so deeply immersed in that, like whatever it, like that alone is magnetic, right? Like that alone is just this beautiful thing. But we don't give any credence to that anymore, right? We're like trying to run this race to win, right? When
all end up losing.
We all end up losing. It's funny because actually a beautiful human from the island, Sergio, you know Sergio, he was personal trainer on the island. Yeah, dreads.
I was a kinder.
You're like, I
I
was a
probably
child.
don't know no personal trainer. I did not go to a gym, Erica.
You're
okay,
like, I was
island.
an actual child. Well, he's an amazing person. I will introduce you
Yeah.
to online. But today he posted, the day you stop racing is the day you win the race. And I was like, oh gosh, just like, that is like letting the earth hold you. That is like, just stop trying to be great and just be great. Exactly. Right? Like, be who you are. Exactly. Like that. Exactly. And it's just so relaxing to like melt into that.
And it's like you finally feel like someone took that muzzle off of you, or the chains that you have been holding yourself down with, and you can finally be like, okay, I'm tired of these chains. Let's take them off today.
Yeah.
And you have the power to.
Yeah.
Like, you have the power to take them off and realize, like, now you've won. Just in the fact that you recognized you had the power to take off the chains and realize, like, yeah, you don't have to run this race.
And step by step, right? Like, folks like try to jump into this whole process of unbecoming, right? Of undoing, and like make it a race and like get to the end. Like, just like right now. Exactly. So
let me tell you about some trauma,
right,
you can overcome.
Right.
Woosah with me.
when you could just, in this moment, right? Because then I feel like, you know, coming on this path becomes like a stressful path, right? Well, you know, Erica and Harsha are sitting here talking about how, you know, everything can be okay and we can create anything we want. It was like honestly, like, let's just come into to right now. What's going on with you right now? What inner child, what part of the committee needs to be heard in this moment?
Is up talking.
That's it.
Exactly.
Like, just listen to this one right now. Like, there's this, what is now? What do you choose now? And like, just let it be so tiny and let all of it feel so pleasurable, right? Like, even that inner work that's like excruciating can be so pleasurable, right? Like,
it does.
Because like, you get into it where like what was supposed to free you becomes serious. It's like, this isn't supposed to be serious. Like, this isn't fun anymore.
Like, why are we? Yeah, bro, I literally do that to myself. I make everything a competition with myself, and then I'll be like, you just bummed yourself out.
Right.
Like, why you do that?
Nah, I don't want to play anymore.
Like, you're not making this fun. I don't want to play. Like, ugh. And then I gotta go sit down, give myself time out, and come back and be like, okay. Let's try this again.
Okay.
From a neutral place.
Here we go.
But I'm curious, like, so how, like, so I guess, like, since the pandemic, like, do you still offer your services? I'm assuming probably like through like the virtual space, but like, do you give workshops? Like, how can folks meet you and like share in like all of your incredible wisdom? Or if they like need a coach and they're like, Erica, I'm resonating with you, girl. Like, let me slide into them
Slide
DMs
into
and
those
tell you about how I'm feeling.
DMs.
How can
So,
folks, yeah, share this life and all, yeah, just connect with you, connect with you.
so yeah, I mean, this conversation that we are having is like just literally all I do, all day, every day. I feel
I
extremely,
love it.
extremely hashtag blessed to be having this conversation with you. I feel blessed in the life that I have, and so to find me, you can find me on all of the social medias at Erica Danielle Overshares. And as you can hear tonight, just I will tell you everything. Erica Danielle Overshares, and then it's ericadanielle.com. So coming into, I've typically, for the most part, only work with people one to one. But what is
Mm.
so beautiful, this technique I was telling you about earlier, like seriously, it has rocked my world. Like it has just been next level because it was answering that question, like how can I know what to do and still not be doing it? Answering that questions for my clients. And so I'm super excited about the end of this year going into 2022 because I've cleared my schedule. Have been working with a few organizations, doing a lot of corporate work, and I'm like, that is to the side. I am so focused on group work. So towards the end of this year, into 2021, going to 2022, I'll do a master class called Power, and then
Mm.
I'll start a group course behind that called Emotional Alchemy. And we're just going to talk about, how to get into your body, how to start to clear out these various voices that just want to be heard, and how to like live. I mean, you can call it oneness for some people. How to live like who you truly are. And like, there'll be coaching in there. It's gonna be awesome. So I am like
Sounds beautiful.
fired
Yeah, no.
up for 2022 because like this is the thing. As I live in this world, I told you I don't keep up with the Kardashians, but I have come.
That's good. That's good. They ain't doing nothing.
I have come to love social media, and every so often there'll be a story either of a celebrity or a friend of a friend or someone close to me who has committed suicide, who has overdosed, who is just really struggling with their mental health in some way.
Mm.
And I'm a coach, and so I'm and by no means a therapist. So there'll be like someone who comes to me on a personal note to talk about how I also experienced abuse, or I also burned out in corporate, which I didn't burn out in corporate, but I did leave it. And it just occurs to me in those moments that everything got so scrambled, right? Like all of the committee members, like it just became so much that, and like I'm getting emotional just talking about it. And they just, because nobody taught us exactly what we've been talking about this whole time. No, we didn't learn the basic strategies to process all of the stuff that is going on in our bodies and in our minds, and
Mm.
to understand the calling of our soul, right? So we always talk about this mind body soul
Exactly.
connection. We do nothing with that in society. You got to go off the beaten path to connect with that, and it breaks my heart every time
Same.
I see it.
Same.
And I'm like, this is the thing. I feel like for whatever reason, like, heading into 2022, it's like, it's time. It's time. Like, just get out there and share it. Like, speak it to yourself, speak it into the void, speak it everywhere, because
Exactly.
it doesn't have to, I think that it's just so heartbreaking because it doesn't
It doesn't
have
have
to
to be
be
like
this
that.
way.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, like that's what is calling me, you know, for the rest of my life, I'm sure. Just if I can just talk to one person, and I feel so blessed that I get to work with so many people that feels that scrambled, like I can't untangle this. I'm so overwhelmed and I
It's like
don't know
I'm
what to
trying
do.
so hard to get them to shush, and they just
They
won't
won't.
leave me be. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And you're just feeling attacked from the inside, and you just don't know where to go. I really, 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 and there's like literally no one I say no to, right? Like I charge a lot of money. I do. And I don't, I say no to no one. I think that's another part of me moving um, into to group work as well, right? So it becomes like accessible to more people. But I make my little. I charge a lot of money offhand comment. At the same time, everybody knows that you reach out to me. My clients know I will talk to anybody, right? A client called me the other day. He was like, you know what? Somebody I know is struggling with suicide. Please, please, please talk to this person. Absolutely. And I'll keep talking to this person. And there is
It's like they need someone, just
absolutely,
anyone to just be like, look, I will listen.
I will listen.
Just tell me how you feel. Like, what is going on? And I feel like it breaks my heart because it's like I feel like as a society, like we have all of this stuff that's supposed to connect us, and yet so many people feel alienated or misunderstood, and it's so easy to just fall through the cracks in the society and literally have nobody, because like people don't, like people are so caught up, like you said, like when we were talking about homelessness offline, like people are so caught up in their own world, they just ignore anybody that's just like getting in the way of them just doing their daily routine. That if you just don't talk to people, most of the time people will just not, they'll forget, they just won't, not even intentionally, but then it gets so like isolating, and if you have nobody to counteract that, the voices, like they get so convincing,
That's it.
because I mean they've convinced you that you are even a self, so it's like they can continue to exploit that because they know you best. It's like your own mind, you
Yes.
know. And but if you have someone to be like, but you said this earlier, and but we both know that that's not true, and then you can be like, you're right, you're really right, like, you know what, maybe that wasn't, and then you start to crack through that facade, and they can free themselves
Yes.
of like all of that, because then you're like, yeah, I guess it's really not too bad after all, and I do have a lot to live for, and there is so much to be grateful for, and this life can be purposeful, and I can have action, and it is in my control. And when you give them back that power, like you literally saved their life. And it's like there's so many people that have lost their power or their voice along the way because of so many things that happen in this world. People are assholes, let's be real.
What you gonna do about
Um
it? They're assholes,
exactly.
but they're innocent. It's not on purpose.
Exactly.
Like they're not
It's like your
purposely.
reaction is your responsibility, and just because they were an asshole to you doesn't mean you need to go out and be. But it like takes that awareness to not even take other people's um projections onto yourself, because I think a lot of the time, like, we just take on other people's limiting beliefs, we take on their anger, we take on their frustration, and then we think it's us, and it's like, no, sweetie, none of that was you, that
Hmm.
was them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let it go.
Yeah. And not just, but not before we let it go, before you get your power back, before all of that. The parts of you that are aching, that are crying, that are heartbroken. We talk about, as you said offline, where we're talking about homelessness and how we're so inclined to ignore the homeless. I mean, let's talk about parents who, just like we were saying, they don't want to, they ignore their children's emotions and what they're actually experiencing. And the parents are innocent. They are innocent. I mean, I came from a home you're seen and not heard, right? So I didn't understand that children, this is going to sound terrible, they were like real human beings who had like thoughts and emotions that need to be listened to, until I got
Exactly.
older and like started to interact. I'm like, oh, okay, you're a little person. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Right. But
like
it
there's a
was,
lot going on in
there's
there.
a lot going on. And like, but there was an innocent, I was innocent. That is what I was taught. And so, if you're a parent who has ignored, if you're a child who has ignored your parents, like if like this is not, I am in no way condemning that. I am just saying that like before we even start to like take back control of life, because that's what people want to do. They want to skip from I'm in the depths of whatever to the top of the mountain. And it's like, let's just sit at the base of the mountain. Like let's just sit in
Yeah.
the hole you've dug for a minute. Let's
Yes.
cry
Yes.
in here. Let's like
Exactly. Let
hold,
it out.
yeah.
Purge.
Let's hold this
Purge.
and feel
Crying can be so
it
therapeutic, though.
can. And just being loved through your crying.
I wish people cried more. I guess I used to be so ashamed of
Me too.
crying. Like I really used to have a lot of shame around crying in front of
Me
others.
too.
Like I hated to be seen crying. Like even in front of my parents, like I hate to cry. Like in front of anyone really. And yeah, you have to realize why. Like
Why?
it's like, and it's about being vulnerable and like having people see how you really feel and like being guarded. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
To sit in that space the hole that you dug, and to cry it out.
And to do it with someone else, to learn how to do it for yourself. It's like I love, one of the things I love so much is like how honest my clients are. Like my clients are like, I would never I would never say this out loud to another living soul. I've never said this. And it's like they say it out loud and I'm like, I know you've thought that. I mean, it's so at home in your speaking of it. I know you've
It's
thought a
been up
billion
here. You've been
times.
saying it. It's just
Exactly.
been up
Just
here.
over and over again. You've been, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
but it's such beautiful work because I don't flinch. I'm like, I'm right there, right? And also because I am so deeply in contact with my own humanity, right? I'm like, oh no, absolutely, me too, right? Like I don't say that in the session,
Mm.
but like you're talking about your crying, I'm like, I used to be so deeply ashamed, and a part of that is because I can tell you times when I cry with the family member. I'm like watching ET. And I remember specifically, and I look up and like my family members are laughing because I'm crying. And I'm like why, like now as an adult, like they didn't know how to hold their emotion. Like they didn't know how to hold me in the
Mm.
emotion of what was happening with ET. Oh my gosh. Right? Or I'm like
Yeah.
dancing around and like being expressive and I look up and my family members are like laughing, right? But I'm like this child in my creativity. And again, like
But it's like they're only laughing because they don't know. They're like, what is she doing? Why
Mhm.
is she doing that?
Mhm.
Why, like, I wish I could do that, but I
Yes.
can't because I have all of this programming. So my only way to make myself feel better is to laugh at her because that's the only way that I know how to process this that makes it make sense, because I low key wish I could cry and dance
Yeah.
freely like that. Like we
Absolutely.
are always in awe of people that are out there just doing weird
Just
stuff that
weird.
we wish we were doing, and we're just like, damn, just like I wish I had that, mojo to just go out there and just be a weirdo. But it's like
Yes.
we're trained to just like grow up,
And be
put on the
serious.
suit. Yeah, be serious, be a big boss boy, and we're all gonna play adults. And I'm just like, guys, we're all children, okay? We just grow up, but we all kids. Let's play. Like for me, I wish life was like playing. I hate that people say we gotta work. I'm like, why do we gotta work? Let's play.
That's it. That's it. Or if we could just redefine work, like why does work have to be so heavy and whack, right? Like couldn't it be fun? Like couldn't work be like this? Because I feel like work for me has been redefined because I just love I love my whole freaking life, and so work gets to be one with play, and when it's not, I quit. Like
I feel
I am a hashtag quitter,
you're like, we
quick.
out.
It's been real. I gave it like the college
Deuces.
try. This is horrible for me. Like this is deeply unaligned. And so with love, namaste. Okay, I just
I
honor
will
you.
love you for what you gave me, but we're gonna
Yes,
condo you and let you
I
go.
will love you forever from over here. Thank you.
But deuces though.
Bye. And
Give me my check.
but if what if we all would do that though? I'm just saying, if y'all could just get in
I
on
feel
this
you.
game, it's a
That's what
free game.
but then I feel like I'll talk to people and I'm like in perfect, like I feel you 100%, and then I'll talk to other people and then I realize like like you were saying, like they want to be in this life. Like as much as like it's like this weird thing of like you want to set people free that maybe you don't even want to be free.
Mm-mm. You can, but that's not where you start ever, because there are so many people who want to be free, and so it's not even a conversation that I have. Like I literally don't entertain
Mm.
people who are not interested in their personal
Mm.
freedom, because there are so many people who are looking for the keys, right? There are so
Mm.
many, and I learned so much from every single person, right? Like this is an exchange of keys, right? Like it's this magical thing that I literally would not even waste time. Now there are people from my old life who reach out to me, and they'll say whatever they say, and I might just challenge a thought or challenge a perspective, and you know whatever. But what I'm not gonna do is engage in any like deep conversation. But they come around. People really, I think we all innately want to be free. And I think when folks realized, for me over this last decade plus, that I was not going to get off this path, like I was not going to circle back around to corporate, I was not going to, like, I feel like they also started to relax around me and started to relax into
Okay, this is Erica.
the rainbows and butterflies. Like, I didn't think it was possible,
Yeah.
but maybe it is. And like the number of people who have been like, that one thing I said before, could you connect me with a
Yeah.
coach? Like, could you
Yeah.
just like sit down
They're
and have
like,
a
I think we
conversation
need
with me?
help.
Exactly. And I'm like,
I've
literally,
been
no judgment.
ruminating.
No judgment.
Yeah, I feel you.
Let's do it. I'm happy.
That's awesome. I was so happy to really when you were like our mood court coach, I was happy. We were a whole family. I
I
loved it. Like
know.
I really truly loved that. That whole time.
I
It
listen,
was lit.
I did too. I seriously loved it. Like when I saw your message, I was like, I'll literally do like anything you tell me to do. I love you all so much. I love you so much. And it was just such a joy to work with you all. And just know,
Yeah.
like, I
So
did not
easy.
do any legal anything, but like, I came back to the legal game to work with y'all. I was like looking at, my hubby and the other folks. I was like, I'm not messing with y'all. I'm on my way. let's let's get these girls together so we can get in here and take this thing
Yeah.
home.
Nah, it was literally perfect. Like it was like I couldn't have asked for a better like whole experience. Like the whole thing, all of it was 100% would redo again.
Yes.
Like no joke. Was like I don't know. I just love the squad. Like we were just I don't know. It was like I love like when you're around people that you really feel like you can be yourself
Mm-hmm.
and like they will be themselves and because you are all being yourself it's so much easier to work together because you know exactly what you're dealing with. You know, like the temperaments you're dealing with. You understand how people work. Who wants to be straight shooter? Who
Yes.
wants to, flirt around the bush? And
I
I
actually,
don't know, like
y'all were all
I loved it.
y'all
I
were
loved
all
it.
so great. Y'all were all like hard on your sleeves. Y'all like called everything out. You were so like just that honest like youth, like this is where we are,
I
this is what we're
loved it. I
doing.
love like that is literally the time and it's like when I came to the States, I feel like I lost all I don't know, I can't find people like that other than my bae. Like my bae is very much straight shooter.
Yes.
Like I don't know where he was birthed. He was birthed in the pits of fire, but like he and I like really we complement each other. It's really weird. I don't like it's weird. I'm just like universe. How did where did you send this one from?
Yeah.
Like you be checking me and I just like, oh, you're
I
right.
have to say, like from my corporate years, like I did meet a lot of like quote unquote real ones, just like really straight shooters.
Mm.
But girl, you have to like stay the course. Like you have to like not compromise and not play the game.
But
Like
it's hard because sometimes it's like you there's a part of me that wants to people please
mhm.
and then like change or not give my full opinion because I'm like but I'm working on it every day.
Listen, sometimes
Every
your
day.
full opinion is not giving your full opinion might not be the calling. Like there are times where
Mm.
I'm like,
This
this
is true.
person's not here for the truth. And again, like I don't force anything. Like if you're not here for the truth, I'm not gonna tell you. the truth. I will let you
I'll let you
play.
live in your
I
delusion.
will. Like, who am I to take away, like, to tell you that you have on no clothes? Like, if you like being naked out here in these streets, then listen, you look good to me.
I'm like, it's funny because I feel like I'm like a kid, and as much as like I have to stop calling myself a kid because as much as I am useful, I'm not a kid. But it's like when I'm in, corporate where it's full of older folks, grown, different generation, older folks, that been in corporate pretty much my entire existence.
Hmm.
Um, it's so interesting because it's just like I'll be like, "Who hurt you, bro?
Who
Like,
hurt you?
why you talking like this? Like, this is how you talk to people,
Yep,
bro?
that
Like, who
is.
hurt you?" But then I'm like, "This ain't for me to fix. I ain't here for that.
Girl, not your calling.
Let
Let
me
it be.
just do what I gotta do, make the impact that I can make, connect with the folks that want to connect. I'm gonna let y'all just flow.
But you would be
But I'm
surprised.
here.
People recognize when they're in your energy. They recognize
They
when they're
do.
off, and they will recognize that, like, when they want to, like, wake up and be real, they will come to you. It's just like, hold your energy. Stay true to your moment, moment by moment, and that's the best you can do. Don't
Really.
look back and judge it.
And sometimes I just look at life and I'm just like, it just seems like it's so much. I'm just like, it's a lot of work. And you gotta do this every
You
day.
just got to
And
keep
I'm like,
doing
I
it.
don't even know how long. I was like, how long is this gonna be? I can't even tell you. I don't even know when my last day is. I'm just like, every day we gotta go through this every day. And then I gotta be like, yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
But here's the full circle on it. You better treat death as your trusted advisor. Like, if you feeling like every day is, you might want to shift your every day.
Maybe we need to have a whole separate pod for death because, like, I feel like when there are those people that suffer from fear of death, like, I'll literally try and sit there and think about how do I feel about myself not existing,
Hmm.
and I just like
But Harsha, you how could you?
my brain goes speechless. Like, I just don't know how to feel, like,
Because if you didn't
because it's like I'm so
exist,
used to existing. Like,
if you didn't exist, then
repeat that.
if you didn't exist, then none of us would exist. Like, if we're talking about who you really are, like, there's no way for you to not,
I
like,
know
if you, because of you,
it's weird.
there's everything. If there is
I
no
know
you, there
there
is
is
nothing.
nothing.
And so, yeah, we should just sit down and talk about death, because you literally, like, when you die, nothing happens. Nothing changes. Nothing.
But there's like something about that that's like relaxing and also like scary as hell. But yeah, we could save that for another pod. Because I know it's late by you, and I do want you to be able to go to sleep and get like a full 8 hours. But like, yeah, death is one of those things. Watch Midnight Gospel. I think you would like it. It's crazy. It's totally out of left field. It's definitely for people tripping on acid. But I will say it is beautiful. It's like absolutely incredible. They talk about stuff that I wish like I wish like this is what people did like this is what I wish the cooler talk would be about, when people be like talking at the coolers in corporate. I'm like, can we talk about death? I'm like, okay guys, so we're all dying. So what are we gonna build today?
Yes, I love it.
We only got one life. Let's not build shitty stuff, right? Let's build something wild and cool and that will give the people some crazy. Like let's go all in. That's literally the kind of energy I feel like I bring.
Yes, 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 yes.
But I love it. I'm like, and when I am this way, like it feels different than when I'm not this way. Like it's a clear, like, just, just.
Yeah, yeah, girl. Allow yourself. Allow yourself to be that way. Oh my gosh. Because it's such a vibe, right? Like, even in this
It
moment,
is.
like, everybody who will listen to this will be like, oh, something shifted for just a moment there in Herschel. Like, it's as chill as you are, you went like deeper chill. Like, oh.
ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय